step by step. Once upon a time, there was a young monk named Renji who lived in a temple nestled among stone and bamboo mountains. His heart burned with the desire to reach enlightenment, but also with the impatience of one who wants to find it quickly. One day, he approached his master, an elderly man with a serene gaze named Senso, and asked, "Master, how long will it take me to reach awakening?" The master, without looking at him, replied, "That depends on how far you're willing to walk." Renji frowned. "I'm ready to do it all at once right now. I want to reach the end without stopping." Senso nodded slowly, stood up with his staff, and pointed toward the mountain. "Then climb. Reach the summit before nightfall if you can." The young monk, full of energy, began his ascent at full speed, with no water or rest, determined to prove he could reach the peak without distractions or pauses. But the mountain had other plans. Renji climbed the steep slope with determination. He jumped over rocks, avoided winding paths, and searched for shortcuts through thorns and roots. His mind repeated over and over, "I must reach it. I must reach it. I must reach it." The sun moved slowly across the sky, but Renji was already beginning to tire. Sweat blurred his vision, and his restless feet begged for a break. Still, he didn't stop. Every time the wind whispered through the forest, he saw it as a distraction to be ignored. After midday, he stumbled. He fell to his knees, breathing hard. His trembling hands gripped the damp earth. He looked up. The summit was still far away, hidden behind the mist. At that moment, he heard soft footsteps behind him. It was an elderly peasant woman slowly making her way up, carrying a basket on her back. Her steps were steady, calm, almost as if she was speaking to the earth with every move. Panting, Renji asked, "How can you walk so calmly without getting tired?" She smiled and said, "Because I walk step by step." And she kept climbing, while Renji watched her fade into the distance, as if time had no rush for her. Renji sat quietly for a moment, watching the figure of the old woman slowly disappear into the mist. His breathing began to steady. His heart, once racing, now beat like a gentle drum. He stood up, this time without hurry. The path was still the same, but something inside him had changed. Instead of running, he started to walk. He felt the earth beneath his feet, the cool breeze brushing his face, and the whisper of the trees sounding like an ancient song. Each step had meaning, each stone a lesson. Soon, he reached a bend where a small stream crossed the trail. He knelt down and drank from the clear water, watching it flow effortlessly. The stream does not rush, yet it always arrives, he thought. As he stood up, he realized he no longer thought about the summit. He was simply walking, and for the first time, he felt the journey was transforming him more than the destination ever could. As he moved forward, he remembered his master's words. It depends on how far you're willing to walk. Perhaps it didn't mean distance, but the depth of each step. The path grew narrower, lined by a bamboo forest that whispered with the wind. Renji now walked with full awareness, as if each step was a conversation with the mountain. In the midst of the forest, he found a boy sitting on a stone. The boy held a reed flute and played a simple, repetitive melody, yet deeply harmonious. Renji stopped to listen. The boy looked at him and asked, "Do you like the song?" "Yes," Renji replied. "It's very simple, but it fills everything." The boy smiled and blew another note. "My grandfather taught me not to play everything at once. Each note needs its space. If you rush the melody, it breaks. But if you listen to every sound, even the silence between them, the music appears on its own." Renji closed his eyes. He understood. He wasn't just meant to walk step by step. He had to live note by note without skipping any part. He bowed with gratitude and continued on his way, while the flute played softly in the distance, as if marking the inner rhythm of his own awakening. Further ahead, the path was blocked by a large fallen tree. Its exposed roots spoke of past storms, and its moss-covered trunk seemed to rest quietly on the earth. Renji stopped in front of it. Before, in his rush, he might have tried to jump over or go around it without a second thought. But now he simply observed it. He sat down beside it. He placed his hand on the rough bark and felt its coolness. It wasn't an obstacle, it was a lesson. As he rested, he noticed a small flower growing from a hollow between two branches. Even in falling, there is life, he thought. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He understood that not all steps are taken with the feet. Some are made in the pause, in stopping, in seeing with new eyes what once seemed only an interruption. The tree wasn't blocking his way. It was teaching him that the path is also walked when one learns to stop without despair. Renji stood up, touched the trunk with respect, and carefully walked around it, as if thanking it for the lesson. Step by step, once again, he resumed his journey. The afternoon was slowly fading, and the fog wrapped the path like a thick blanket. Renji could barely see a few steps ahead, but he felt no fear. His body no longer moved out of desire to arrive, but out of trust in the present moment. Each step was guided not by sight, but by listening. The crunch of dry leaves, the whisper of the wind through the branches, the steady beat of his heart. Then he remembered his master Senso's words. Whoever runs in the fog will stumble. Whoever walks in it learns to see without eyes. The fog wasn't an obstacle, it was a silent teacher. It forced him to slow down, to feel the ground, to trust the invisible. It was like life itself, never fully clear, yet always revealing if you know how to stay present. As he moved forward, he began to make out a soft light through the white veil. He didn't know if it was the summit or just another stretch of the path, but it no longer mattered. Renji smiled. What was once anxiety to arrive had become gratitude to simply be. Finally, Renji emerged from the fog and found himself in a small clearing. From there, the sky opened up in golden and pink hues of the setting sun. The wind was pure, and everything seemed calm. But it wasn't the summit he had imagined. There was no grand view, no marker, no sense of victory. Just silence. He looked around. There was no one else. Just him, the wind, and the open space. And yet, inside his chest, something was shining. There was no need for more. He didn't feel like something was left to conquer. He had arrived, yes, but not at a place, rather at a realization. Awakening isn't at the end of the path. It's in every step taken with awareness. He sat down on the ground, crossed his legs, and closed his eyes. There was no rush to return, no desire to reach anywhere else. The present moment wrapped him in an inexplicable tenderness. And then he felt it clearly. The summit was where his feet were. The sun was beginning to set behind the mountains when Renji stood up. There were no heavenly trumpets, no flashes of enlightenment, just a deep, full silence, and the whisper of the wind gently brushing his robe. He began to descend the same path he had climbed, but now every step was an act of reverence. He greeted the stones, the trees, the earth that had held him with his gaze. He came upon the fallen tree again and stopped to give thanks. He passed the clearing where the boy with the flute had been, gone now, but the melody still echoed in his memory. He saw the footprints of the old woman, still marked in the damp earth, and smiled. When he reached the temple, night had fallen. His master awaited him by the door, holding a lit lantern. Renji bowed deeply and said, "I did not reach the summit, but I found something more valuable. I learned how to walk." Senso nodded, his eyes shining with wisdom. And that, Renji, is the true path. Enlightenment is not something you run toward. It is something you walk, step by step. Together, they entered in silence, while the echo of their footsteps faded into the night, like a secret song between earth and sky.